Mr. Speaker, as someone who has experienced war firsthand, I have deep understanding of the suffering that comes along with it. As a child, I lived through a violent civil war that destroyed.
qaar ka mid ah xubnaha aqalka Koongareeska dalka Mareykanka gaar ahaan haweenka markaasi hadallada cadcad ay ka mid tahay gabadha Soomaalida Ilhaan Cumar, gabadha kale ee Falastiiniyada Rashida Dalib iyo sidoo kale Ayaan Presley iyo gabadha leedahay Cortisa ayaa dhamaantood waxay weerar afka ku qaadeen maamulkooda iyaga oo sheegay in waxa goobta ka dhacaya ay yihiin falxumooyin Mareykanku qayb ka yihiin. Ilhaan Cumar ayaa waxa ay khudbad halkaas ka jeedisay ay sheegtay in ay iyadu garan karto barakaca waxa uu yahay iyo sidoo kale burburku waxay tiri waxaan ka imid meel sidan oo kala waan xasuustaa bay tiri anigoo 4 sano jira markii gurigeyga la soo weeraray dagaalkiisa keeyay wadankayaga hooyo ka dhacay Muqdisho. Dabadeedna aan arkayay bay tiri iyadoo oo daaqada ay nooga soo dhacayaan gantaalo iyo hub culus oo hubiyaal la isku garaacay. Waxayna sheegtay in ay dagaal marka uu saas u leeyahay ubadka yaryar ee diyaaradahu ay dul marayaan isla markaana iyagoo xiimaya ay gantaalka ku dhaafayaan ay tahay wax aad looga xumaado. Waxayna ku tilmaantay in iyadoo oo ay ahayd in ay la ciido qoyskeeda lana dabaaldegto ay halkan u joogtay in ay u hadasho dadka reer Falastiin.
Mr. Speaker, as someone who has experienced war firsthand, I have deep understanding of the suffering that comes along with it. As a child, I lived through a violent civil war that destroyed my home, ripped my family apart from each other, and killed many of my family and friends. I can still remember being just 8 years old, hiding under the bed, hearing bombs go off outside my window, and wondering if we were going to be hit next. It is trauma I will live with for the rest of my life. So I understand on a deeply human level the pain and the anguish families are feeling in Palestine and Israel at the moment, and the helplessness people feel here in the United States who have family in the region, including many of my constituents. And it is for this reason that I abhor violence. The truth is that this is not a conflict between two states. This is not a civil war. It is a conflict where one country, funded and supported by the United States government, continues an illegal military occupation over another group of people. Let me be clear. Every single death in this conflict is a tragedy. Every rocket and bomb that targets civilians is a war crime. I feel the pain of every child who's forced to hide under their beds because they fear for their life, and every parent who deals with that anguish. And I wish we as a nation treated that pain equally. But right now we are not. And instead of condemning blatant crimes against humanity and human rights abuses, many members of Congress have instead fallen back on a blanketed statement defending Israel's airstrikes against civilians under the guise of self-defense, without even a mention of the children getting killed, much less what happened at Al-Aqsa or in Shirjara. When the 15-member United Nations Security Council proposed a resolution this week calling on the Israeli government to cease settlement activities, demolition and eviction, and urging general restraint, the United States reportedly blocked it from happening. We are currently blocking the United Nations Security Council from calling on ceasefire. And to this day, we as members of Congress have not had yet a hearing or a briefing on this conflict, or gotten answers on whether our weaponry or money is being used to commit human rights abuses. So I must ask, when we defend Israeli citizens' right to peace and security, how can we at the same time ignore the 5 million Palestinians living under occupation? When we say that Israel has the right to self-defense, how can we ignore the home demolitions, settlement violence, and forced annexation of Palestinian land that is happening? And how can we say they themselves do not have the right to defend themselves? How can we pay lip service to a Palestinian state yet do absolutely nothing to make that state a reality while the Israeli government we fund tries to make it impossible?